Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. We're so glad you could attend. Come inside, come inside.
Welcome back to The Price of Business. I am your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Got Walter Rogers lined up. He comes in every Wednesday, provides great guests here for our program. He, of course, is with Baker Communications, bakercommunications.com. They are leaders in sales and customer relation training. And Walter, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks, Kevin. How are you today?
I'm glad to be here with you. And you've got Scott Holden. Why don't you introduce him to our audience?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we're really excited to be on air again today. We've got another terrific guest, as we always do, as we continue down our quest to provide best practices around 13 unbelievably important strategies that any business owner or executive needs to consider. And today we have part two of the conversation around sales and marketing integration. And last week we had John Miles, of course, the Vice President of IT from Dell on the radio, and he talked about the role that IT actually plays in helping this enablement take place. And today we've got Scott Holden, who's a Senior Director of Product Marketing from Salesforce.com. Of course, we've talked about Salesforce.com many times on the show before, but Scott is particularly passionate about this entire sales and marketing divide and some specific techniques that can be implemented and leveraged in order to make this divide much, much smaller and actually help these groups interlock and work collaboratively towards, the same mission that they have, which is generating revenue. So, Scott, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And why don't you just jump right in and just give us your view of, the problem that you're seeing in terms of the sales and marketing divide, given that you've worked with, literally thousands and thousands of customers.
Sure. Well, good morning, Walter, and thanks for having me. It's great to be on the show today. And, yeah, it's interesting. I love talking about the sales and marketing divide, and it's an interesting one because both groups really have the same goal in mind. They're really trying to grow revenue for their companies, and yet at the same time they always seem to be at odds. There's a lot of the he said, she said that goes back and forth, and it makes me think of sales saying you didn't send me the good leads, and marketing saying you didn't follow up accurately enough, and it always makes me think about that great book and movie Glengarry Glen Ross and the line from Jack Lemmon that said, these leads are weak. We want the good leads. And so that is something that I focus on and spend a lot of my days thinking about how can we get sales and marketing organizations to work more closely together. And instead of having marketing just toss leads over the wall and send a spreadsheet of leads over to sales and hope that sales does their best, and then at the end of the quarter have sales come back and say, hey, you guys didn't send us good enough leads. We couldn't close enough business. Instead of going through that typical problem, I work with a lot of customers and try and bring them closer together so that at the end of the month, at the end of the quarter, there's no finger pointing and both teams are working better together.
Well, you couldn't have said that better, Scott. And, it's so funny because sales always saying, the leads are weak. And if you talk to marketing and you look at statistics, the numbers really tell a different story, which is 75% of the leads that sales typically receives from marketing never even get a phone call. So, and that probably goes back to the fact, salespeople think the leads are weak. So, what are you seeing? What are some techniques? What have you seen customers do to begin to cross this chasm?
Yeah, so I think the very first thing you can do that's really critical for these two groups working better together is to have a single version of the truth. And what I mean by that is have a single set of performance metrics. It could be a report. You could be using a CRM system like the one Salesforce provides, where there's a dashboard where everybody is looking at the same metrics. And they can use those metrics to sort of have weekly, biweekly, monthly, you name it, have the meeting where both marketing and sales get in the room and can look at where pipeline is weak, where do we need more leads, which part of the country, and really have a collaborative, focused discussion about how marketing can help. And if you have that centralized place where both parties can look at the information, some place to track the marketing campaigns that marketing is running and the leads that they're sending over to sales, there's no more finger pointing. Sales can say, yeah, I see the number of leads you're sending me, and marketing can then see, which leads those salespeople are actually turning into closed business. And when everybody's on the same page, kind of looking at the same information, the groups just work a lot better together, and you can focus on closing more business as a team.
Hey, let me intervene here real quickly. I'm curious, is there numbers out there of number of deals that are closed based on leads? Because as Walter just pointed out, 70% aren't even pursued. It'd be interesting to know what kind of ratio there is in closings on finished business with some of these companies.
I would guess that answer is probably all over the map. What we're seeing typically is about 10% of the leads that actually get touched by a sales rep ultimately end up in some sort of a win, and that's not a super stellar metric, because if you think about the fact that 75% don't get a call, you left with 25%. If you close 10%, then you're really closing 2.5% of the total leads that come through the pipe. But Scott, maybe you've got a different perspective of view on that.
No, I mean, I think it's all over the map. The key is that if marketing runs a campaign and it generates a bunch of leads, and then sales gets a hold of those leads, if you have a system in place, a CRM system like Salesforce's, where you can actually track which leads turn into closed business, from the marketing perspective, you can actually then reinvest the dollars that you're spending on those campaigns in the ones that are most effective. So maybe you're doing some email marketing, maybe you're holding some events, you're doing some trade shows, etc. You're doing some call downs over the phone. Whatever the case is, one of those things is bound to be more effective than something else. And if you've got the visibility into which of those leads, how they're being generated and which salespeople are closing them, you can really dial things in and step it up from a performance perspective.
So Scott, what you're really talking about here with the single version of the truth, which I just love that statement, right, because that's really what it is creating a lot more transparency between, what are historically siloed organization. So, and this transparency can probably feel a little scary or threatening for some folks, but what kind of impact have you seen from, this increased transparency?
Yeah, I mean, I think transparency is something that we're seeing more and more with business organizations today. A lot of the technology that's out there that's bringing a lot of the great social media features that you see on Facebook, where we know so much more about each other's lives from what's happening out on Facebook and Twitter, a lot of those great technologies are being brought into CRM systems to help sales and marketing people work more closely together. And so that's the case with our product called Chatter that's built into our sales and service applications. And so transparency it gives people more information, and I think that's really the key. And so when I think about what marketing organizations have to do to help salespeople, because at the end of the day, if salespeople aren't closing business, nobody wins. And so I like to think about it. Marketers need to help salespeople, and so they can do that in two ways. Number one is that they can help increase leads. And that's really about demand generation. And then number two is they can help them stay on message. What message is resonating best with your customers or prospects? And so that's really a way where technology can help, because in the old world, it was, marketing would, think about a great campaign idea. They'd do some market research, maybe they'd keep sales in the loop. But what tended to happen is that they'd do this thing, they'd throw some leads over the wall, and sales would just have to figure it out. With technology now, you can actually you see more and more marketing organizations sharing their campaign creative, sharing the email template that they're going to use, and showing that to sales before the email drops so that sales knows what's coming. They have templates that have been given to them by marketing that they can then use and send out to customers. They also, marketers, a big part of what marketing does is give sales presentations to use. Using technology now, the same way you share a photo and people can comment on it in Facebook, you can share a presentation with sales, get their feedback, and tweak it. And, I'm a marketer. I love getting feedback in terms of what's working. And the technologies today, like we have with Chatter, really help promote these two groups working together. You get feedback from sales, and it really makes the entire organization more effective as a result.
Let me ask you real quickly. A lot of people are curious about Chatter. Chatter obviously is a great application that makes social networking drive business. Let me ask you, how many people are now utilizing Chatter?
Yeah, so Salesforce now has over 92,000 customers, and over 80,000 of them now are using Chatter. We launched a Chatter.com application for collaboration that you can access by just going to Chatter.com, but you can also get access to all the Chatter capabilities right within inside your CRM application. So whether you're a salesperson, a marketing person, or in customer support, you can get Chatter included with your CRM license, and that's really what's bringing all the different people inside an organization together. It's creating that transparency. Best practices are shared, and everyone in the company tends to know a lot more about what's going on, and that's what's creating this great boost in productivity and effectiveness across the board.
Yeah, and boy, 80,000 customers, that sounds like a lot, but, when you put it in context of number of end users, right, which is probably millions of end users, it's just a phenomenal success story considering that Chatter is really, fairly new to the market. I mean, I guess it's about a year old or so, and, the adoption rate has just been phenomenal. And by the way, congratulations on your acquisition I saw come across the wire today of Radian 6, which is just, ongoing proof of Salesforce's investment in the social media space. Now, let me ask you this. We've talked a lot today about how marketing can help sales, but how can sales help marketing?
Well, I think as it relates to that transparency topic we were just talking about, sales can give feedback to marketing, and I think that's something that we've never really seen done. And so the great example there is that as a marketer, our customers are sharing presentations that they're creating with sales and getting real-time feedback. You post a presentation like you'd post a photo, and people are providing comments about, hey, that message on slide 5 is not working with our customers. Change this, change that. Can we do more of this focused at this business segment or this industry? And that feedback is just a gold mine for marketers. And so that's what we're seeing more and more of, and that's why Chatter's been our most successful product ever here at Salesforce. And it's really this borrowing of social features to make business more transparent, more productive, that's really driving it.
Hey, let me ask you real quickly as we wrap up, is there a particular website besides Salesforce.com that you'd like people to be aware of?
Well, yeah, people could go to chatter.com if they're looking for our free collaboration application, or they could just go to salesforce.com and get access to the Sales Cloud or the Service Cloud, our core CRM products that include Chatter that so many of our customers today are having such success with.
Very interesting. Walter, we've got about a minute left. You want to wrap up with something?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so what it sounds like to me is that the advent of all of these great new technologies is really creating a couple of things. Number one is, what Scott refers to as the single version of the truth. And that single version of the truth creates massive accountability. It creates a much more collaborative environment for people to really operate and sing off of the same sheet of music, which ultimately has people moving in the same direction, which yields much better results than folks moving and operating in opposite directions. Number two is that there's an opportunity for a much tighter, closed feedback cycle where sales and marketing are constantly communicating with each other around what's working and what's not working, which leads are good, which leads are not. But it's not so much just the lead's no good. It's more around the why, right? I connected with this lead. This particular individual was completely unqualified. They had downloaded a white paper by mistake. That you can do a lot more of the analysis because of this single version of the truth. But at the end of the day, it's all about behavioral transformation. It's all about change. We can put whatever processes in place, whatever tools in place, but if a company isn't committed to actually driving and changing the behavior...
I'm sorry, Walter, that's music in the background. I want to learn. Obviously, we need to learn more. I encourage people to check out Walter Rogers' website, bakercommunications.com. He'll have more information about this, I assure you, and we'll have more after this right here on Talk 650, powered by CBS Radio. Thanks, guys.
Hey.